To the review of the weekend in German Bundesliga football on Tuesday, the 22nd of October in 2019, and we had the 8th match day of the Bundesliga 1, the 10th match day of Bundesliga 2. And we had those proposals that I made here, or the bets. Yeah, I proposed these bets and I evaluated them here. First of all, that I evaluate the quality, had they been good or had they been bad. And secondly, of course, they are evaluated in the sense of money-wise, well, more or less unit-wise, you could say, because I'm just rather proposing 1 unit per game for now. If you listen carefully, you might find out which one I like more and which one I like less. And as I said, we look at the Bundesliga 1 and Bundesliga 2, and I've done all that in German already. I will try to shorten this one and especially, just focus on the games and focus on the evaluation of the bets, more or less, which is what you might most appreciate too. Because short video, let's check how the games went and let's check what we won or lost, or maybe that you try next week to go along when you eventually lose your money and blame it on me. But please don't. We can all win or lose, but there's a different approach here as I evaluate the quality, and I can say that has been a good bet for sure. And I also can tell you which has been a bad bet, even if it's a 1-1, which usually people would not mind or would especially not care about. As long as it's a winner, they say, okay, that one's gone, or that one's, I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. That one was lost. Oh, here I could have, and there I could have, and they hit the woodwork, and there we should have had a penalty, and so on. Anyway, Bundesliga 1, we had these games, and as you see here, computer was pretty optimistic about the chances for Eintracht Frankfurt, and he was proven right in respect to the result. But it wasn't right looking at the effort, because it was just Leverkusen's game. You might slightly argue when you say, well, there was an early goal for Frankfurt, and from then on they didn't need to, and okay, they scored another one, and then Leverkusen tried to even more and more desperate to attack and so on. And in the end, the stats were too clearly in Leverkusen's favor to consider it a good bet, first of all, and also to consider it a deserved win. It was just that they wouldn't take their chances, which also happens here or there, but you should be objective enough and say, okay, market was better here, market was right, I was wrong. And in the back of your mind, you may say then, okay, well, as long as it's a winner, I don't care so much. And secondly, you may say, as long as my team is winning early on, then it's already a goal to their goods. But it's also, sometimes the stats are slipping. Okay. And so you may have a small justification. In Hertha Werder, we were on Hertha and we were quite pleased. This figure here tells you, here I was wrong by 0.69 goals against my team, so to say, so that one was no good. This was 0.01 in favor of Werder, which is a know-nothing. And here I can even say, well, I was pretty proud in some sense that Hertha could produce so much closer to the end, and when they really deserved that equalizer, which the stats would somehow tell you. So this one was fine. In Düsseldorf, Mainz, that was expected to be pretty even some edge to Düsseldorf, which was not quite market's view. It was not enough for a bet for me. It would have turned out very well in favor of that's how many goals they should have scored, and that's almost plus 2 goals. But that was due to sending off against Mainz pretty early on. From when on, actually, Düsseldorf played really well, but maybe against 11 it would have been different. But they really did play well, and they they consistently, well, the pressure was rising, and after 80 minutes somewhere they scored that winning goal, and which was fine. It was well deserved. No one would argue about it. You can just say, okay, 11 against 10. It's a different game, so I don't even care so much whether or not the stats went their way. Union Freiburg, that was another very early goal after 22 seconds, after which you can say, well, okay, you were a bit optimistic about those chances. In that sense, you should have taken Union, but as long as they don't play so well, you can say, well, it was a wise decision that you didn't take it. If you see that the result, why didn't you take it? Who knows what would have happened if we would have taken it, everything, the world. It's like the butterfly turning left or right and could change the whole world. And so anyway, that's what I believe in. That's chaos theory, very simple. So I make a different bet and everything goes different from then on in the whole life. So it could have been 05 then, 05. Anyway, in the stats say Freiburg had been doing okay. They would have deserved better. Union consistently took those shots from long range, which were well taken, but so like that, they had some chances. In doing so, which you would not consider a goal chance really if someone shoots from 25, 30 yards out. But if it's a good shot, then you could say, well, okay, it came to being a chance. Anyway, they did that quite well, and they scored 2 goals like that, which was fine. The first one, after 22 seconds, doesn't really count, but it counts for the result. And maybe it counted against Union in the stats, which we don't know. Anyway, it wasn't over, but it didn't. It wasn't over by chances, as there were enough for either side. But it was not an over by result. So did we have the over? I think so. Anyway, we check that in a second. Augsburg against Bayern was a huge surprise, of course, and it was also a goal after 54 or 55 seconds, I don't know. And so we had a couple of very early goals. Also, Werder was very early. Also, Frankfurt was very early. Yeah, that's it. But quite a few. And then Bayern took over, and they played their regular game, the way they always do, and they produced their chances regularly. And you think, well, who could resist that? And Augsburg couldn't. There were 2 goals, and from then on it should have been 3, 4, or more. But they didn't take any of those grandiose, glorious opportunities. And instead, in the last minute, they conceded 1, which, as Bayern were even slightly better than expected, you can't say it was deserved, not at all, of course, but it just happens, which makes us also smile and happy if there weren't all those silly questions asked to the coaches and discussing about Bayern München being in some kind of crisis, which was definitely not the case in this game. It's a crisis of results, which happens quite often. You just don't get the result, no matter how well you play. Anyway, RB Leipzig against Wolfsburg was a 1-1. Wolfsburg came 0.4 goals closer to what I had expected, so I can say in some sense they did deserve that. It was also a good game by Leipzig, you can say, but the more impressive, and this is what this figure tells me, even if 0.9 goals still in favor of Leipzig, the 0.4 go to Wolfsburg, and that's credits to them. And if you see that game, you would say, well, hats off to Wolfsburg. Although you still notice Leipzig are the better side, and no one can doubt that. But the one that deserves the credits here are Wolfsburg. And if this side get a result, you can say, in some sense, it was deserved. And I'm not arguing any longer, because we had the under, which was perfect. They defended well, and they defended to their standards. 0.78 or 0.81, but you can still argue there, okay, Wolfsburg were even a bit better than what I expected, so it was just fine. And 1-1, yeah, the under was fine, and in some sense Wolfsburg deserved that point. In Dortmund-Gladbach, we had Dortmund produced about their chances, and there were 2 goals disallowed for silly, more than silly reasons, just to disallow some goals, and then be proud that we have that video assistant when all the crowds are celebrating already, and you don't know any reason why this could be taken back, and then they find one, and it's just silly, mad stuff. But here we have the same result. 0.4 goals in favor of Gladbach. In that sense, the same thing. So it was also impressive what Gladbach did, but those goals that didn't count are not even a goal chance, which is wrong not to count them. They should be counted. But which stats should they go into? Disallowed goals. Okay, but with what percentage to convert them? I don't know. It's paradox. Paradox. But Gladbach in the end somehow deserved that equalizer. You felt that, although Dortmund could have well been 2 or more ahead. But the way it was really, and Dortmund were really hanging in. I mean, they they just didn't want to concede another late goal, and also pushed by media. Or well, if Favre even says we have to win this one, it's just as silly as can be, because the others could say we don't want to lose it, and it's just we play football and see what comes out. We try our best. That's what the others do as well. Anyway, Gladbach somehow, like Wolfsburg, although there's still a difference of 1.4 goals, here's just 0.9. Still, I would say with all those chances late on, Gladbach somehow deserved it at that point, and with the same reasoning here. But you could say 1.4 goals is a bit too much to deserve it, and there were all those former previous chances. And Köln-Paderborn was not that far away. Köln did a tiny little bit better. Paderborn have not done the least wrong here. They just played on the Bundesliga level, or on their level, which is lower half, of course, which is maybe even close to the bottom. But it's nothing wrong with that kind of football. And you just have to try on and not get nervous and say, okay, we're going to win our points. They got a single one only. Although they are, as in this one, not by result, but by stats, they are close enough to also win something here. And that's also what I saw. In Hoffenheim-Schalke, it was just impressive what Schalke did, because they wouldn't slow down or anything. They just said, we are the better team, so we control that. And that's what they did. And they would have so well deserved that winning goal, or, well, the 1-0. Although Hoffenheim, you can't complain about their effort, because it was their standard, and it was good standard, but it was just the others were so much better. So you could say, well, this evaluation was wrong because Schalke should have been clearly better, but I'm not concluding this from one single game. It wasn't this game, but of course the confidence had been growing with every other good result. But this is also taken into my stats, so all the parameters go up a bit if you get good results too, even if the efforts are not as good, but you move up step by step, so to say, and that what showed here. But now, as they lost this game, it's the question again if they can carry that forward, that very fine effort, which is no doubt about that they played well, and it was 0-0 all the time. So until 75 or 70, I don't know, something, when Hoffenheim all of a sudden scored a goal, although you can't say they've done anything wrong. Anyway, that's so much for the games. Now I can judge those bets here. And Frankfurt had been a bad one. That's schlecht. That's German for bad. And all the others had been good ones. Hertha had been good enough. Augsburg had been good enough. No doubt Paderborn was good enough in spite of this result. And this one is a winner. This one's a winner. This one's a winner. This one had been lost. I mean, Augsburg was good enough. I showed you that it was close to the expected stats, and there was still some space between the 2 goals and 2.25 goals even, which was the line here. So then we have the under here. We have even half a win. And it was a good one because there were not so many chances. You can check that 3.12, 2.92. That should have been. So we are good enough with that. We are good on this one. The over, it didn't happen at all. It was just a 1-0, but there were chances well, on the expected level actually, but that's enough to be a good bet. And that over was good too, because there were 3.31, 3.37. I showed that already. So it was definitely a good one. Of course, if there are 2 goals missing, well, you can say, well, what are you dreaming of? But it's good enough. The under was bad because there were on either side there were more than expected. So it was a bad one. It was also half lost. These 2 were lost anyway. The Leipzig under was a winner, which was fine. It was a good one. The Köln under was a full winner because the line was just silly and was a good one too. And Hoffenheim, the over, was a bad one and was lost too. Although, well, there could have been a third at any point. But anyway, I'm not arguing about the quality, and if it's lost, it's lost. That's 0.3 units, still plus, because we had 3 winners here and 1 lost, and 3 winners here and 4 lost, so that makes a total of 6 winning, half winning here, and 4 lost. It still comes out to, because prices are, all of them are around 2.0, so that's more or less this half unit. It's a bit less than that, but I'm not, I shouldn't doubt this sum here, which I do for some good reason not to doubt it. It's plus 0.3. Now we check the second Bundesliga as we did the first one. Our were expected to be slightly worse. They were even more worse than expected, 0.11 goals. And you could see that Nuremberg were the much better side in the first half, 9-2 or 11-2 shots. And they wouldn't score the goal. And then there was sending off against Nuremberg. And from then on, Aue was starting to believe in their chance. And from then on, they took their chances. But there was a late penalty, another one for Nuremberg, to get that 4-4, which would have, well, been deserved, although they were a player down. Was a lucky win, was an exciting game. Not even many chances, but many goals and penalties and so on, which are, of course, then bigger chances, which is not reflected here. I'm not counting these penalties differently, which I've done in a different approach, but I'm not ready to show that yet. In Fürth Dresden, it was pretty very boring game, and the typical kind of football you see these days. The one side score a goal, and they don't do a lot afterwards. No, not at all. They gave possession to Dresden almost completely. They just didn't take part in the game. So they wait, and sit back and wait, and the others can't produce real chances because it's all crowded there. And plus the referee's decisions that are not allowing strikers to go anywhere. Instead, defenders are allowed to, well, handle the ball and whatever they want to. And so you can't do much with a possession. And they didn't produce a lot. And then they wait, and all of a sudden they get a chance for a second, they score a second, and it's game over. More or less, you can't wait a lot for more chances. Here it was a much better game of football, and it was actually St. Pauli responsible. You could argue a bit that, well, somehow it doesn't seem to pay at all. How much possession, how much control of the game, how many chances you get. You're not doing much with that. You can't score goals. Well, that's a bit sad for football. But anyway, here St. Pauli was so much better. They just should have taken the lead and should have won the game. 0.71, the goal for Darmstadt was pretty late in the game, so I could hardly argue that they gave the ball away because they were winning. It's not true. St. Pauli were better. They should have taken the lead. Instead, Darmstadt did. That's what happens. And we were in Darmstadt, so we can be quite pleased. In Heidenheim, well, we have this slight edge carried forward with a few less chances than expected, which is pretty regular, pretty common. So it just happens a bit here, more, a bit less there, and so on. So it's a 0-0, was a bit lucky maybe for Wien, but of course 0.38 goals, down doesn't mean you should lose a game. It's not enough. It's not half a goal. But anyway, if any winner, it should be Heidenheim. It wasn't the case, so pretty well. It went according to what had been expected. The better side had been the away side that couldn't win. It's fair enough. It happens. Regensburg were very slight favorites. We were in Sandhausen because Market had a slightly different view. Instead, Sandhausen played better, as this goal as well came very late in the game. It was at the point when it looked as if Sandhausen were going to score the goal. It was instead Regensburg that scored the goal, so that reminds us of many examples up here. Nuremberg should have taken the lead, St. Pauli should have taken the lead, wasn't the case. If anyone, Heidenheim shouldn't have taken the lead, wasn't the case. If any side, Sandhausen should have taken the lead, wasn't the case. So if they all can't do much with a superiority, it's a bit sad for football. Of course it happens, and we have different examples when it's otherwise, but I'm a bit worried about football itself, in that sense that it doesn't pay anymore to be the better side. You can plenty of possessions, you can also crosses, corners, shots, and so on, and you open up your own half more or less, or you have to get players forward. That's what they all. Well, you have to. I mean, how else would you? I mean, then you could say, okay, we're done. The kickoff, and okay, 0-0. Okay, we agree, and then final whistle, 0-0. Fine. Because we are not attacking you, would you? No, of course not. We are not going to attack you. Why? That would be silly. So, and if it is like this, it's very sad for the game of football, and especially if you don't see any goals. But we had a different example here when they weren't really on the cards, in spite of all those penalties and so on. But here it was again the wrong side at least. And in Bochum, Karlsruhe, we had plenty of chances. We had plenty of goals. As once again in Bochum's home games, we have 2-2, 3-3, 2-2, 3-3. I think that's all. 5 games, 5 draws, all of them with many goals. And also many chances, and also very balanced chances, so that everything is fine. It was just that Bochum were playing with 11 men against 10, so they should have had some. So that's all credits to Karlsruhe, who deserved that late equalizer and were better than expected, and even being a player down from early on in this first half, somewhere halfway through. Anyway, in Stuttgart, Kiel, I was on Kiel, okay, we were on Kiel, let's say, and this was very optimistic, 1.75, 1.29 in favor of Kiel, or not in favor of them, but compared to Market's view. But Market was right, and here it was the same phenomena as here, because the better side were the one being a player down, although here it came after 60 minutes or something like that, when instantly Kiel took advantage of that and scored the goal, but they should have been down a long time by 1 goal at least. And from then on, maybe they were a bit better than before, and also they could say, well, now the result is on our side, so you can have the ball. But anyway, Market was right here, I was wrong. Result was on my side. It happens, I can be happy. And of course, I can, in the back of my mind, I can still say, well, as long as I win the bet, maybe it was still a good one. Not counting it as a good one, though. Although there's some slight point. Here it's the same thing. Better side couldn't score the goal. And it was the same thing here. So we have already 5 examples now, I think, when the better side can't score a goal. Hannover also didn't. And here you could say, well, it was a bad bet again. We won Osnabrück. It's easy to say that, a bad bet, it's a bad bet. I won it, okay, so you can have the quality, and I take the money. But I have to admit, it was bad. Here you can say Osnabrück were happy throughout the game with the result, so they didn't need to do any more. Hannover was struggling, and that's the way things go. Very obviously, the better side can't score. Hannover couldn't as well. We can be happy, still we were on the wrong side, in that sense at least. Bielefeld HSV, the last game we look at, was a very good game of football. First half, HSV showed that they are the better team and maybe the best in the league, even better than Stuttgart. Okay, but Bielefeld were really tension, very, very good side. And so real top game, and what they did second half was just outstanding. I mean, they were so good, and they were closer to the winning goal. Although no one complains now, they say, okay, we saw an excellent game of football. HSV could as well have taken the lead or extended it, or and so they are all happy, and especially they are happy with the effort. They say we can compete with the best. Both of them can say so. HSV defending their top spot in the league, as Stuttgart lost. And so now the point is good on the road, while the others were playing at home against the third best team in the league, although Kiel were in contention there. Anyway, it was a good game and was a good result, somehow fair result. Now we go through here. Here it's a bit different, as we had usually bad bets. I mean, well, at least we have the majority had been bad. 5 bad ones, 3 good ones. So this is no good. As long as the results are good, we don't care so much, but we should care. But if we look at the quality in the end, we can still be happy. And here we have a winner with Darmstadt, we have a loser with Sandhausen, which we shouldn't have lost, but we shouldn't have won the others, or some of the others, so we can be happy with that. I mean, we lost the only bad one, a good one, and we won the 3 bad ones, which might give a hint already that it's well, which is the better one? Which would you choose? Of course, always this result, but is the counting, is that right? But I still insist it is right, and we see it in the long run. And still, we have that small argument that I was using all the time. Possibly, you can well, as long as you get the good result, you can always say, okay, the stats. It's also what the players say, more or less, or the coaches. They can say, let them have the ball, let them go and play. We wait for the chance on the break, and so on. With the over-under, we shouldn't argue like that. Here we were very lucky, as we won all of them. We won that hour over, which was a bad one, and halftime was 0-0. And I thought once again, what am I doing here? They all say it's an under, and you can see that is an under. Although you could see that Nürnberg should have scored a goal, but it doesn't happen. So you say, well, I'm very used to that. And after the break, all of a sudden, yeah, okay, and you win it, and 7 goals. Here it looked good right from the start, because there was a very early goal and instantly the reply. So 1-1. But we lost one a week ago with Darmstadt, Karlsruhe, or Karlsruhe, Darmstadt, I don't know. 1-1, also after 9 minutes, and we lost it over. Here we won the under, and we won the bad under here as well, although here you can argue 0-0, we are so far away, and Osnabrück didn't mind so much. Anyway, I'm counting it as a bad one, because stats tell me even if we were 3 goals away from losing half. But we count the stats very regularly and very fairly, and we don't make any changes to that, and then we see where we get. And 11-8 quality is still fine. I mean, it's close to being good enough to beat the market, but it's fine. It is close enough. It's good enough for both leagues. And but the total quality is just excellent with 89-55. So if you always count like that, and we get these results, well, what would we more? What more could we ask for, right? But I'm as I said, I'm knock on wood. I don't, this is what we are, where we stand at now. So that was a good weekend, so to say, and although the 11-8, that's what we rather should take, but it should just do to be better than even, and that's just the current result. So, and it doesn't say anything about what is going to happen and so on. 11.49 is of course a lot more than you could ask for, but I'm not squeezing out really everything out of these prices, right? This is one thing you shouldn't forget. But I'm rather giving you prices here, more or less, that are good enough. Are the ones that were well market adjusted. I mean, they are fine. You should get them, and they are good enough. So why not take these prices and see what happens? Okay, that's it for now and for today. So leave your comments, share it, like it, comment, subscribe, and so on.